Good morning and happy Tuesday. I am coming to you live from a day off because this is in Baltimore County, a special election. And so I'm Stephanie Smith, life coach, and what I want to talk about today is how to have civil discussions even about politics. Because we are living at a time when many people feel like our country is divided. Many people feel like there is a widening schism between racial groups, socioeconomic groups, religions, genders, you name it. And I saw something interesting that really caught my eye the other day that my friend posted, and it said when we're younger, we're taught to not talk about politics or religion because it might upset some people. But what we've missed out on is the opportunity to teach people how to be civil about things that they deeply care about, that they deeply disagree with someone else, and have a legitimate conversation. So many times we find ourselves being steeped in ideology, or I know for me, when I was growing up, and this is my personal and local and immediate narrative, I sort of was Republican because that's what my parents were. That's what my dad was. That's, what I heard growing up in my house. I didn't really know enough to make an informed decision. So as I got older and had more experience in the world and took more classes and met more people, I began to realize I was far more democratic in my ideals. So I'm independent. But unfortunately, we live in a country where there's only two parties. And even within, or two viable parties. There have been tried to be three parties, but there's not enough. And so what we're left with are, even within political parties, there's great schisms. And so with an election coming, and in the middle of an impeachment trial, when some of the memes that I've seen are very anti-president, very pro-president, using words like love and fear and distrust and hate and betrayal. And what I'm realizing is these are all a mechanism of fear. And anyone who's done advertising is the first thing to tell you that if you can galvanize someone through an emotion, it's fear. So I am going to challenge you to do three things when you feel the need to have a conversation about politics. Just try these three tools because I think it's better than trying nothing. So number one is state your opinion, but without any of the hyperbolic drama. Hyperbolic it's a fancy English language arts term for exaggeration. If you are stating your opinion, it's going to be clear that you're passionate about it. It's going to be clear that you believe in it. It's going to be clear that this is something that you hold deeply. You're able to dial out a lot of emotional noise if you're speaking from a place of just truth without, very, very, very long, energizing words. So that's going to be number one. And am I guilty of using hyperbolic extremities? Of course. I think it's a part of human nature. But when I'm able to stick with just the opinion without adding emotions to it, I'm able to engage at a level with someone that I might not agree with on a much sort of normal level, like where you're kind of common sense talking to common sense, not ideology to ideology. So if you're going to state something, state it. Just state it. Because again, if you're stating it, it's very clear you believe it. Number two, don't be offended if someone disagrees with you. It's the nature of, if you're posting this on social media, it's the nature of being human to disagree with someone. We are lucky enough to live in a country where we're allowed to have these different opinions. So step number two is don't get angry if you're stating your opinion and someone has a different opinion. And then number three, try to ask questions. And when I say that, I don't mean why. Why do you believe that? Why are you so for the president? Why are you so against the president? And I'm sticking with the president because right now that is a very polarizing force in our society. But if you're coming from a place of genuine curiosity and you're asking what and how questions, you are inviting a conversation. What makes you say that? How does your political belief impact your everyday life? What would be the worst thing that could happen if blank was elected? Those are conversations that actually make people stop and think. And I know when I was asked those kinds of questions as a young person, if my answer was, I don't know, I realized that I had a lot of research that I needed to do on why this was my political belief. Now, not everyone's going to have that response, but that might be enough of a starting point to turn the tide of conversations, to really just get in there and get your hands dirty and say, what makes you believe that this person is this? What track record have you seen? What am I missing? And when people have to speak in a way that is organized and coherent and thoughtful, you're going to learn something yourself. You might find out something you never knew. It might give you a thinking point. It might be that you are able to point out something that's contrary to what they're saying. But if you're coming from a place of genuine curiosity, it's going to be really hard. Even if that other person gets ramped up, you're not going to get so ramped up that you can't have the conversation. So again, here are the 3 things to have the civil conversations. Number 1, state your opinion without any sort of exemplary adjectives, hate, lust, betrayal. Very, very, very. It's going to be clear that it's your opinion because you're stating it. Number 2, if you're stating it and you're posting it, don't be offended if someone does not agree with you. And then number 3, come at it from a place of curiosity. But not the why questions, because that's going to put the other person on the defensive. The what and the how. And if we start doing this as a society and we start doing this with our children, the younger generation is going to be far more equipped to talk about religion and politics than our generation ever has been. And in the coming months, political conversations are going to be had at work, at dinner, at soccer practice, in the locker room. And the more discourse that we can continue to have, my hope is that people who did not vote in the last election will be galvanized to vote in this election. Because for me, that is where I get really upset, is the fact that we have this right and people don't exercise it. And I really do think a lot of it comes down to we just post these memes and have these opinions and don't have real conversations about it. So are they uncomfortable? Of course they are. But any kind of conversation that leads to growth is uncomfortable. So if you have any thoughts on this matter, I would love to hear kind of how this is showing up in your own life, what your experiences with it are. I know I have relatives that I've upset because I've stated my opinion, and you know what? I'm okay with that because I'm not going to be offended if they don't agree with me. But that's something I had to say to myself. Stephanie, do not be offended if they don't agree with you. Okay, and if they push back, I'm going to push back with what I have to say, but in a respectful way. So comment if this rings true for you or if there's anything that resonates, or even if you disagree, I invite the feedback. And my website is www.stephaniesmithlifecoach.com if you want to continue this conversation offline. Thanks and have a great day.